guys, Millimeter Peter here, and today I'm bringing you guys the top 5 solo gods right now and their builds, plus the honorable mentions, like always, and that's really all there is to it. So I'm just going to jump right into the video. Coming in at number 5, we have Bologna. Bologna's in a pretty good spot right now. This is an old build. This is when Animosity or Benevolence was pretty good. Bologna's pretty good. I think she's good into like the hunters right now. When there's a lot of hunters on the map, she's actually not that great because she gets blown up still pretty easily. She doesn't have enough block stacks, and she kind of has to all in. That's kind of her playstyle, but I still think she's really strong. You can pick her in basically every single one of your games and do well, especially because her laning phase is so strong, and part of the reason is because she has just good builds. And, you know, she's really strong with her passive in lane. It doesn't scale at all like Sobek passive. You know, you just get a ton of prots from the start of the game. Your start is tier 1 Berserkers and Destal, and then go for HP pots or 3 HP pots and a multi-pot if you're in a matchup where you might be able to kill them, you know, level 2, level 3, and you kind of want to fight in that wave. But for the most part, this is what you start. I'm going to show you 2 builds for Bologna because I think she has multiple builds. Go into that Berserkers. You can also rush Golden Blade on Bologna. She doesn't necessarily need it to hyper farm, but it's definitely an option. I like to go Golden Blade in rank just because it's a really fun item to run around and hyper farm with, and it's still pretty good and it helps you kill people on the map because it gives you a lot of DPS. But you don't have to go it, like I said, and if you do go it, it's basically the same exact build. You go everything in order and then sell your Golden Blade for that last item you would otherwise go. So you used to go Frostbound on Bologna. You'd go like Berserkers, Frostbound, Shoguns, but I don't think that you should do that anymore. I do not think it's viable that much, just because you need defense when you go into that mid game and that late game with all the hunters on the map. If you have a Frostbound in your build, yes, it helps a little bit by diving them and slowing their attack speed, but it's not nearly enough to stop them from critting you and, you know, destroying you, and from taking everything on the map, especially with towers getting back to, they're getting rebuffed back to their spot before where they have more pen. So I actually think Sovereignty is probably the best physical defense item in the game right now, just because it's really cheap, gives you a lot of health, gives you a lot of prots, and it gives you HP 5 for sustaining throughout the entire game. Not that Bologna necessarily needs it, but if you are ahead, this is where you can go like a damage item here. Something like a Stone Cutting isn't too bad. If you already have Golden Blade, then I wouldn't recommend going that here. If you're ahead, though, I do think Stone Cutting is not too bad. But for the most part, your standard build is probably going to be a Shogun's into a Spirit Robe, and then last item, whatever you need. If they have multiple hunters, there's crit on the map, there's a Mercury Jungle, he's very common right now. Then just go a Spectral and then upgrade your Destal to Death's Embrace. And like I said, if you're ahead, you can go a little bit more damage in your build, maybe sub out the Spectral for Kin Size, maybe a Stone Cutting, something like that. But yeah, this is pretty strong. That's the one build. The other build that I've been messing around with on Bologna is Bluestone, actually. You go a very similar style here. Go tier 1 Berserkers. You can only afford 3 HP pots with this. If you're in a matchup where you're going to get poked out a ton early, then maybe consider going 3 HP pots in a Chalice. You don't really need multi-pots. In this scenario, you're just kind of farming to that first Berserkers and then probably TPing back in. Oh, by the way, you can go TP on Bologna. I should mention that. TP is probably your first relic in most games. TP Beads if you need beads for the team fights. TP Blink is also nice. TP Horrific if there's multiple ADCs on the map, so keep that in mind. But yeah, and then you're going to go into that Berserkers first again, and then you're going to go straight into Glad Shield, and then you're very, very strong. You're very aggressive with this build. You do a lot of auto attack damage and a lot of ability damage with these two combined. Bologna has 4 damaging abilities, so Glad Shield's really not that bad, and neither is Bluestone. You know, it's not necessarily been a staple on her in the past, but she's kind of like a hybrid, kind of like Amma, where she does do some ability damage as well as auto attack damage. So, and you will go into that Shogun's into Spirit Robe. Wherever it is, here it is. And then last item, probably something with a little bit of health. I like to round it out with like a Gauntlet of Thieves, just because you get a little bit less health in this build. Just because you don't go that soft. I mean, Glad Shield does give you 250 health, but I mean, it doesn't give you the sustain like a Sovereignty would. So, yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. If you go the Gauntlet of Thieves, you can also go the Spectral, like I said, if you really need that. Witchblade also isn't too bad. But oh, that's Emperor's Armor. Didn't click that. Here it is, Gauntlet of Thieves. Yep. So there it is. And then upgrade that Bluestone into Redstone. That's kind of the whole reason you buy the item, is because late game Redstone's pretty nice on Bologna. That's part of the reason you don't want to go Frostbound in this build either. But yeah, this is a build you can try out on Bologna. I've been having a lot of success with this, and it's also just fun. So give it a try. And that's Bologna at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Ullr. Yes, there's going to be hunters in this just because that's how the game works right now. Ullr is very straightforward. You go the same build every single game, basically. Start that tier 1 trans, if it will let me actually click it. Here we go. Go 3 HP pots and a multi-pot, or just 4 HP pots. It's really up to you. Most games I'll just go 4 HP pots. You rush Transcendence, then you rush Jotuns, and then you're full CDR basically with this build. Whenever you have your blue buff, you're full CDR. And even if you have an upgraded blue buff, you're actually going to be overcapped in CDR, which is insane. It's so easy to get CDR these days in the solo lane. And then next up, you're going to go Hydras. And yes, you kind of are overcapping CDR at this point, especially with blue. But if you ever rotate to a fight, you're not going to have blue buff. And it doesn't matter because these items are so strong on Uller and its cooldowns are already so short that Hydras are going to get a ton of value. Auto cancel a lot on this character. He's one of the few ADCs I think is actually decent on. Then you go straight into that Heartseeker. At this point in the game, you're probably going to have enough for your Bluestone upgrade. So you want to go Bluestone there. And you round out the build with pretty much whatever you need. Sometimes it's Bloodforge. Sometimes it's just more pen like a Titan's Bane because if you hail arrows from really far away and that Titan's Bane passive procs on that with Heartseeker, with Bluestone, it's just so much damage and it hits everybody on the map, even their tanks really hard. And this is the build you go every single game. The only exception is if you need a brawlers because they have a lot of healing and you obviously want to anti-heal them, and Uller is actually pretty good at applying that just because he has so many abilities and he can hit multiple people with them as well. So that's something you consider. If you are going to go that brawlers, probably go at third instead of going the Hydras, and then consider going to the Heartseeker, Bluestone, and Titans. But yeah, for the most part, pretty much the same build every game. This character is very good. Very, very good in lane, very, very good in the team fights, and just, with that full CDR build, very hard to lock down just because he always has abilities up. Yeah, doesn't really have any bad matchups either in lane as long as you just keep your distance and jump away when you need to. That's Uller at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have the King. We have the King Arthur. Arthur's actually been played a lot in SPL as of lately, especially because Glad Shield, and he actually doesn't have that quite high of a win rate. He actually hasn't been having too much success there, and I do think this character is really strong and you can pick him in most games and you're gonna feel pretty decent, but I do think he has some obvious downsides. Like if you rotate over to a fight in the mid game and you get killed by like a crit hunter and you just weren't prepared for it, or they just have a lot of damage and all of a sudden you're dead, it's really hard to get your charge back up, and it's kind of sad. That's part of the reason that he is not absolutely insane. I actually think this character is not that crazy right now. I know, kind of crazy to say that, but yeah, so you go Sov. Obviously on Uller, the last character, on Uller you go Beads Aegis basically every single game, maybe Beads Blink if you're really far ahead. You can go this on Arthur though. You go Bluestone, Tier 1 Sov, go 3 HP pots and Teleport. This is a pretty standard start on him. You can get away with this most games. You can also just not go the Iron Mail and just go a Chalice plus 3 HP pots, just so you can sit in lane and have extra healing if you really need it, especially if you're not too comfortable in the solo lane or if you're in a rough matchup or something like that. But the build's basically the same every game. You go Sov. Like I said, probably the best physical defense item right now. Gives you that sustain that you need on Arthur. Straight into that Glad Shield, which is very, very strong. If you need that magical defense at this point in the game, sometimes there's not even, like, the only magical on the team is like a Guardian support. You don't really need magical defense in that scenario. But if you do, just go Genji's. If you don't, then consider going Spectral if they already have their crit online. And then you can go straight to that Spirit Robe, which is a pretty common item right now. At this point in the game, you will have that Bluestone Brooch probably. And then go whatever you need that last item. Say you do need some magical defense, maybe Oni Hunters at this point. If you do need to go magical defense early on, then always basically just go Genji's. Genji's is Arthur's probably best item, or one of his best items, at least for the magical defense side. Oni Hunters is something you consider as well. You could also go a damage item here. I sometimes like to do this on Arthur, like a Heartseeker, just you have so many abilities. And hopefully at this point in the game, you'll be at least a little bit tanky, and maybe you just need to be more of a threat to their backline. And a Heartseeker can do that, especially with the buff to healing and everything, or not healing, but the buff to the HP pools and stuff like that. It hits pretty hard even on their carry. So, and then, with the Bluestone upgrade, it just lots of damage that Arthur can do across all of his abilities. So yeah, and then go Blink Second Relic basically every single game, but you can also consider going Beads. Kind of solves that scenario where if you get killed in the mid game and you don't have any charge and you rotate to a fight, like, you won't have your charge up, and you want to have your charge ult for most fights just so you can immune a lot of stuff and kind of dive their backline. But if you have Beads, then you'll at least be able to get some more abilities off and try and survive. But if you do have enough charge and you have Blink up, then you can basically get away with just like diving your backline in every single fight and using your charge ult to immune things and, not get killed in like a CC or anything like that. So, but yeah, just got to be careful with getting killed in the mid game. Coming in at number 2, we have Cleo. No surprise here, probably. Maybe some people consider her number 1, but still a very, very strong solo laner, still a good jungler, maybe even a good mid laner, maybe even a good ADC. She can be played in so many different roles. She's good in lanes and in the jungle because she can gank really well, but she's also good in lane because her ult's still full clears waves. It's still a short cooldown. You always have it up, and she has tons of healing whenever you go soul eater with 4 damaging abilities. And of course, I mean, probably one of the most busted passives in the game where you can go in the wall and just hit people from in the wall. I have a clip of me killing Venenu in SPL from only in the wall. Maybe we can put a clip right now of me doing it.
And is forced to dash away as soon as he can find a way out of that whirlpool. And it's going to take a lot to sustain this on, especially with Fineokay peppering tons of damage back in. Fineokay finds the pick on Venenu. PBM will get the airstrike out of Barracuda, and the Dragons will get the enhanced fire giant.
That was so much damage from Fineokay just through the wall. That is just...
But anyway, we do have the same build that we were going before, which is just Bluestone Tier 1 Soul Eater for HP pots. You rush Soul Eater. Soul Eater is a pretty cheap item, so it's really easy to get to. You don't really have to worry too much with only having 4 HP pots. There's 2 different builds you can go on the Cleo. I like to go a full damage build, something like this, straight into a Brawlers if they have any healing, into a Heartseeker Erendite. Erendite's really strong in this character, in my opinion. Just with your short cooldown of your ult, you can use it in the wall and then dash out and chase people around, and then go Bluestone upgrade. And just ability proc effects on this character are insane. Our scaling has gotten hit a little bit and nerfed as of recently, but it doesn't really matter. You still do a ton of damage with the build, and with the Bluestone Brooch, the Heartseeker, and the Erendite procs, you're going to be hitting very, very hard, and you're healing a lot because of Soul Eater. She's just absolutely insane. And with this build, you're going to be one-shotting people in the walls, like I said. The other build I wanted to show you guys is more of a bruiser build that you can go on her, which I think is a little bit more viable now with the Glad Shield changes. So something like Breastplate into Glad Shield here I think is really strong, especially if they're mostly physical heavy. And, you know, I like Breastplate now. They buffed it back to having 65 protection, so that's nice. Also, Cleo's kind of a mana-hungry character, so the fact that you get some mana and some MP5 from Breastplate's really nice as well. If you need to worry about some magical damage, you need to go to a magical defense item here, something like a Oni Hunters. You can still go that Genji's, but you already are full CDR, so you don't really need to go Genji's. The passive is still nice, even when you're full CDR. It doesn't really matter that much if you're overcapping, but something like an Oni Hunters isn't too bad. Into a CAD Shield, into a Bluestone Brooch. I think this build is slightly weaker than the other build just because it's a lot easier to carry games right now with damage in your build. Tankiness, it's no surprise, it's not the best right now. So if you're trying to hard carry games and you know that you're trying to carry some noobs and get out of silver, gold, stuff like that, then consider going a damage build. But also this build is definitely viable and still will do some decent damage with this and still be, you know, tanking up towers for your team and all that good stuff. So that's Cleo at number 2. And as always, before we get to number 1, I will go through the honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1 is Baron. Some people might consider him in the top 5. I mean, I think he's probably like a top 3 character if you're good at the character, but that's kind of a big ask. I think this guy does kind of have a high skill ceiling, but for the most part, you know, just a pretty standard character. Very, very good with Boombas. Has some like rough matchups in the meta right now. That's part of the reason he's fallen off just a slight bit, especially in your ranked games. You're going to get counterpicked pretty easily by like an Arthur or Bologna. Both those characters are pretty good into him. Very good into Osiris though, so look to get that matchup. But the same build every single game on this character. The reason he is very, very strong come late game, one of the best tanks by far and frontliners in the game. Because of the Boombas build. It's just so insane on him. He auto-cancels very, very well throughout the entire game, but once he gets Boombas, it just, you know, takes it to a whole new level. You rush Warlocks, you go TP on him. You don't always have to go TP, it just makes the build come online that much faster, just because you're able to TP back to lane and hyper farm and rotate around the map and not miss out on too much farm. So you go teleport and rush that Warlock. You don't have to go to the teleport, like I said. If you need to bead so you don't get killed by a Serket jungle or a Mercury jungle with like a high kill pressure soul laner, then you can consider going that. But TP beads probably most games is what you want to go. Bead second relic. Then you go to that breastplate. You go Warlock Staff into Breastplate. If you're ever against a magical, then consider switching out the Breastplate for a Spirit Robe. You don't really need to go a dedicated magical defense item right now. You're not going to be in much of a threat against really any magical character early to mid game as a frontliner. So you can go that there. But for the most part, you would just be going these. If they do have some magical damage you need to worry about, say they have a high damage mid laner, you can go something like a Wing Blade. It doesn't really give you that much magical protections, but it's really strong on Baron. Slow immunity when he's not on his coffin, and when his 2 is down, you just basically never can get slowed. Give it some movement speed, a little bit of health. But for the most part, you won't really have to worry too much. You can go Ethereal into Spirit Robe. And then by this point, you should be able to afford your Boombas, hopefully, if you're doing a good job throughout the game. And then you can kind of go whatever you want last item. Sometimes you can go more damage. Sometimes you can go a Lonos here. Lonos Mask is very strong on this character. And you'll still do good damage with this build, even with the Lonos reducing your damage, just because Boombas procs, your abilities are always up. The true damage from Boombas and the Ethereal proc, stuff like that, you're going to be hitting pretty hard. And be very, very tanky and hard to kill with the healing and Lonos Mask tankiness. So, yeah, very, very strong character. And I definitely, if you're good at Baron, I recommend going this build basically every single game and see how hard you carry late game. Especially because I know a lot of you guys have said that most of your ranked games are actually going past 30 minutes. At high-end ranked right now, Grandmasters and ranked play or pro play, most games are ending in 20 minutes once again. So, but if you guys are telling me that most of your games are going past 30 minutes, then maybe consider going, you know, keeping Baron a little bit higher on your own tier list, just because, you know, you'll be able to get to those points when you have the Boombas Hammer and can hard carry. AMC's up next. And again, another hunter. I know, I'm sorry. Same build, basically. Actually, he's got a couple different builds. You can go a crit on him or like an auto attack build, or you can go like more of an ability based build. But you start the game the same way every single time. You go Bluestone, 4 HP pots, tier 1 trans, and you go beads as your relic. Unless they really have no CC whatsoever, but that should basically never happen. You always go Transcendence first, of course. And this is where the build can kind of vary depending on the game and what you want to go. I really think Soul Eater is very, very strong on this character. Your abilities are always up. Gives you that full CDR when you have an upgraded blue buff plus Transcendence and Soul Eater CDR. And it's just insane. You can honey every 5 seconds. It's going to heal you up a lot. And it makes you really, really hard to dive. And gives you a little bit of, CDR, pen, healing, power, stuff that you actually do like on this character. And then with this build, you want to go more of an ability-based build. If they have any healing, go Brawlers. If they don't have any healing, you can go Drotins. Overcapping on CDR with your blue buff, but it does not matter. Like it's kind of the same thing as Uller. Kind of go a similar build. You go Heartseeker here. I like to, of course, you get the Bluestone upgrade. I like to actually finish off the build with like an Odysseus bow or like a Silver Branch, just because Silver Branch will give you that maximum pen because you have 10% pen here, 10% pen here, and then 20 here, so that's 40 total, which is the maximum amount. Or you can go Oboe, like I said, and just you do a lot of damage with your abilities, and then Oboe helps you like be a bit of an auto attacker late game and help spread out your damage, kind of like a mage would, and punish them in an AoE. But Silver Branch is really nice, and you won't be overcapped with attack speed, but you don't need that for Silver Branch. It's a very high DPS item in itself, just because of the pen and the stats that it gives you. So I'm gonna keep everything here, or I'm gonna keep the Transcendence here and take away everything else because you're still gonna be going Transcendence in this other build. But it's gonna be a little bit different. I like to go into an Aussie, into a Fail Knot, into a Silver Branch here, Deathbringer, and of course upgrade your Bluestone. I actually do upgrade my Bluestone to like a Redstone or a Bluestone Brooch, kind of depending on the game. If they have a lot of auto attackers, then go Redstone, but you can go either. Just because I can afford it, it's only 1,500 gold, and it's just a nice power spike. But late game, if you're getting to that very late stage of the game, then I will sell this for a Wind Demon very later on. But for the most part, you don't have to do that right away, and that upgrade is still going to be pretty potent, even if you don't have an ability-based build. This is the other build you can go on AMC, also very, very strong, and you do get a lot of Silver Branch value, just because AMC's hives give him a lot of attack speed. So this is the other build that you can go on AMC, and AMC, again, he's a good soul laner. You have to face the facts. I'm sorry. He's not fun to play against, but, it is what it is. Amaterasu is the other honorable mention before we get to our number 1. Ama is pretty good right now, actually decent at punishing hunters, and also kind of is a pseudo hunter because she has such good auto attack and objective shred because of her passive and the fact that you can go Shoguns on her and help out your team. Very good at ending games in like 20 to 25 minutes. Very good snowball character, and like I said, good at punishing hunters. So this is a character you could pick against these pesky hunter solos and do pretty well with. Basically go the same build every game on her as well. I do like to go Golden Blade on her specifically. I just think it makes her high perform so well, gives her insane movement speed with her 1 plus the Golden Blade movement speed. But you would start like this, go 4 HP pots or 3 HP pots in a multi-pot. And then you can go teleport on this character. It's part of the reason she's pretty good, and a lot of other warriors are pretty good, is that, they can go teleport and kind of rotate around the map before a hunter would, except for the number 1 hunter, which we're going to talk about in a second. But if you don't have to go teleport, go beads. Horrific's really strong right now, so consider going that. Don't need blink on this character. That's one of the strengths of Amaterasu. She doesn't need blink. You can go sprint if you really need it, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. So we go Golden Blade first in this build, which you will sell late game. Like late game, you want to sell Golden Blade for a tank item or a different item, like a damage item. But kind of similar, you go into that Berserkers. You can go Frostbound on Ama. I think it's a little bit better on Ama than it is Bologna because she's a little bit more, more slippery, and a little bit harder to lock down, even in the late game scenarios. Bologna's kind of much more all in. But nonetheless, I probably would not go Frostbound on her right now. I still wouldn't. Probably go something like a Shogun's into a Spectral here, especially if they're going to be going crit, which they probably will most games. Consider going Witchblade as well as more of like a tempo item. So that's something definitely you could consider. Into a Spirit Robe. Spirit Robe's kind of core in most tank builds right now. And of course, upgrade the Death Soul to the Death Embrace. At this point, if I'm feeling pretty good, I would sell this Golden Blade for like a kin size, and it's really not too bad. If I'm not feeling good and I want to make sure that I can actually die without getting killed. Since I have Death Embrace, I like to go CAD Shield here. Healing on Ama 1 is really strong. The healing from Death Embrace is really strong. And, you'll get value out of the CAD Shield in most team comps anyway. There's going to be some form of healing on your team, whether it's Life Steal or, you know, healing in the actual kit. So kind of round out the build with that. And yeah, you can also consider just not going the Golden Blade and going a similar build. In that scenario, if I wasn't going to go to Golden Blade, I'd probably go Berserkers into Frostbound, Shogun, Spectral, Spirit Robe, you know, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, so that's Ama as another honorable mention. And then coming in number 1, I kind of hinted to it before, but we have Chernobong. Yep, Chernobong at number 1. I don't care what you guys say. I know it's a hunter, and I know you guys could say, oh, my people are playing Chernobong in my ranked games, and they don't know what they're doing. That's because they just don't know how to play the character. That's not the fact that the character is bad. They just don't know how to play the character. Maybe they're solo mains that have always played tanks their entire career of playing Smite, and they have no idea what they're doing when they're playing hunters. That's not my problem. They need to learn how to play hunters, because Cherno is probably the number 1 ranked number 1 solo laner right now for sure. He just has no downsides. He can rotate to every fight, even if he gets behind in a laning phase where he's against like a bully. Like, let's say he's against a Bologna, and Bologna is kind of getting the best of him, just because Bologna is decent in ADCs. He just has to ult over to one fight that the Bologna can't beat to, which is going to happen in most games, and he's going to be able to affect that fight. And as long as his team is not absolutely feeding and he's not absolutely playing horrible, like, he's going to get a kill and he's going to be back in the game instantly. And then, of course, he's going to outscale warriors by a long shot, 100 times more scaling on this character. And this cool part about Chernobong as well is that it's the same build every game on this character. You go Leather Cow, so you can get that Hunter's Cow late game, especially if you have a Hunter ADC, then you're going to get a lot of value out of the extra attack speed. And then you go for HP pots and beads. Similar to AMC, just go beads every game unless they really have no CC. And the cool part about Chernobong as well is that he's very safe. You can just sit under his tower, and he also has really good wave clear from his 1 and his 2. And a really good steroid on his 2, so you can start doing some damage even in the early game. So you can get to this Transcendence really easily, even with just 4 HP pots and the lifesteal from Leather Cow. But yeah, same build every single game on this character. Go Atalanta's straight into that Fail Not. At this point, with Fail Not, 20% CDR and an upgraded blue buff, you have full CDR. You literally have full CDR, 40% crit, maybe even 50 or 60 with the Fail Not passive. I don't exactly remember. Tons of mana, and you don't even need upgraded blue buff, by the way, to have full CDR, because you get Transcendence CDR. Tons of mana, tons of power from Transcendence. You can hyper farm because you never go just very, very strong. Can kind of always stay out on the map, and also a decent amount of lifesteal with Leather Cow, Atalantas, and of course if you get a chalice, you'll have a lot of sustain. Then you go into the Silver Branch, you get a huge steroid from your 2 as Chernobong, so I think Silver Branch gets a lot of value, and there's probably going to be tanks in your game, so you want to have that 20% pen, and then of course Fail Not gives you some percent pen as well, into a Wind Demon, and then upgrade Leather Cow into Hunter's Cow. And then like late game, sometimes I'll sell my Transcendence for a Wind Demon. Transcendence is good all game, but in that late game scenario where you have like maybe like a 3k pot and a 500 pot, and like, you know, maybe you have like a red buff or something like that, I just think Wind Demon's pretty nice because it gives you a little bit more percent pen, some attack speed, so your Silver Branch gets some power and more crit chance, so you're just critting on literally every single auto. So I think it's a bit higher DPS than Transcendence. I haven't actually done the math, but I'm pretty sure that's true. But yeah, same build every single game on this character. And like I said, you're just always going to have your ults up once you get this full CDR build online, which is just your first 3 items. And you can rotate to every fight. You can split push, basically never get behind, and just no real downsides. So yeah, I hate to say it, and I apologize if you guys, you know, get some churn in your games that you're feeding their brains out, but they're probably just going to be feeding their brains out regardless because they're just playing bad. So yeah, that is the top 5 the gods right now. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, what you guys are building on these characters, and what characters you guys have been enjoying. We just did the tier list as well, so it kind of just like is a natural next step to do this type of video and show you guys how to build and how to make things work. So yeah, that's basically it. Sorry, a bit of a struggle speaking in this video. I do apologize, but a bit of a long day, quite tired, but I had to bang this one out for you guys. Ayo. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay safe and healthy as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.